Now, my question is, how much efforts go into technical activities and how much efforts goes into management activities? What is the percentage distribution you normally look in your projects?
Maybe management is more involved in the initial stages, and slowly it gets reduced. So maybe in terms of percentage, 10 to 20% of the total activities maximum.
So you say the management is something like 20% maximum and 80% is this. This is what you think?
Yeah, 80% goes into the physical the activities which are associated with the implementation.
So mainly 80% efforts are going into technical stuff, only 20% are going into management type of activity. Is this right? Okay.
Usually we are aiming for 10% for management. Most of the time it doesn't work out like that, and it's nearer to 15%. But 20%, I think it's then really the top limit.
Okay. So you say 20% little more higher side.
Yes.
10 to 15%.
That's basically the planning assumption in the beginning.
Right. So basically that means the technical work left only to, I think, 85 to 90%.
To 90%.
So other people agree with this?
Yes, I think yes, 10 to 15 is what I think it's charged
Yes.
quote to the customer from the project management.
Right. So basically if you see, depending upon the type of project, it may lead somewhat 10% to maximum 20%, the management. But you know one thing, that majority of the problem in a project are not technical. Majority of the problems in a project are management. This has been proven and has been written several times. That means your most of the problems are in this area. Which is maximum 20%. Now depending upon the projects are known projects, earlier done several times, then the project management efforts could be 10%. If it is a very new project and client is new technologies are implemented, maybe it could be 25%, and if it is very risky, it may reach to 25% also, possibly. But normally not beyond that. But if you see, the most of the problems are here in this 20%. Let me take an example. Suppose you are constructing a building. Okay, suppose constructing a bridge. Okay, now the bridge is constructed. It's inaugurated. The traffic started moving onto the bridge. And after some time you find, within a month or so, that the bridge has developed some problems, for which, because of that, you need to stop the traffic, or at least the heavy traffic you need to stop onto the bridge. Or not even, it is not finished, when it is mature, when it is getting constructed, at that time, testing time, you find that this bridge will not be able to bear the burden for which it is actually being constructed. What do you think where the problem was?
Well, maybe the scope is not properly captured. The requirement is not properly captured, and
Okay.
and proper analysis of the structural designs or whatever is not done because the requirements are.
Okay. Let's say requirements are done, but say that you look at this and find out that you do some causal analysis and find out that the architecture of the bridge was not meeting to the technical stuff or technology being used in that. And because of the poor architecture, you figure it out that this bridge is not able to hold the weight of the trucks or the buses for which it is actually being constructed. What do you think? It's a architectural problem if this is figured it out?
No, I mean, I think we didn't have proper controls. That means whatever you are doing as part of the architectural design should have been properly validated. So that means
Right.
The type of controls you used, certain either ignored or.
What I normally is you look at this. Whenever the projects move into trouble, you do a root cause analysis and you will find that there is some technical stuff is not doing well. Either the quality of the outcome is not good, your architecture, you are constrained with the architecture, it's not futuristic, it's not expandable, new requirements have come up but architecture is not able to incorporate them, or though the requirements are there that it should be expandable, it is not expandable. We see that there is a problem in the technical designs or technical structure or architecture. But if you get into the depth of the matter, you get an architect who is going to develop the architecture of the requirements, which requirements you have. Based on that, he's going to build the architecture. Now, the issue is that do you have the right architect or not? If you don't have the right architect, now it's a life, right? Every time you don't get the skills you are looking for, the resources are scarce, especially you talk about design, architecture, where only few people have skills. There is a fair possibility whenever you go into the market and try to find the skilled people for your project, you find that you are constrained. Either the people in numbers or in quality are not available. You need to take people who are either under-skilled or over-skilled. Now, over-skilling may not be that big problem, though in my opinion it is also a problem, but may not be as big problem as the under-skilling. So what happens, you get a person, you give him the work, he does the work, but if he is under-skilled, the chances of him producing a quality outcome are less. And that's where most of the technical issues are. So if this in the bridge, even if you have the requirements, you do not find the architecture supporting the requirements. You can say it is a technical problem, but basically it may not be a technical problem because you might have not recruited an architect of skills which is required to develop this kind of architecture because of the various constraints in front of you. What is the real issue here is identifying the skills, identifying the right resource. Despite architecture is a technical stuff, but identifying an architect is a management responsibility. There is a fair possibility that the kind of skills required here is architect may not be matching with these skills. is underskilled or overskilled, let's say underskilled. What is the step should be taken by the management? Most of the time those steps are missing. How? Your architect is underskilled. The step should be to identifying the gap. How many projects you have seen where we identify such kind of gaps? Second thing, support. Providing the architect a support from a more skilled person. May not be that person fully available to you, but maybe a part-time you can find out some person highly skilled who can support this person, need not to work on the project. Reviews of the quality. You know that the architect is not skilled, fully skilled. Whatever the outcome is he's producing, whatever the architecture is producing, is being reviewed by the experts or not. The first step is identifying the gap and filling this gap by training or by support. Because of one of these steps missing, the architect produce a architecture, this architect produce an architecture which is not supporting the requirement. This, on a prima facie, it looks like a technical problem, but if you get into the depth, you will find it is basically a management problem, because it is the responsibility of the project manager to identify the right skill, and if he is not getting the right skill, he must identify the gaps and try to fill those gaps. Because getting a highly skilled architect is really a challenge. The two other steps become very important, that identifying the gaps and filling those gaps. If we do this, the same architect can produce a better architecture which can support the requirement.